You're listening to Chicago Stories, a podcast from City Hall featuring the stories of everyday Chicagoans, as told to Mayor Emanuel.
It's Mayor Emanuel with David Schwimmer from Lookingglass Theatre. He's in town for a new play called Plantation! Right. Yeah, and should we say back home, or is that?
Yeah, well, back certainly my artistic home. I've lived here off and on for 35 years, so I keep a place in Greektown. I hoofed it over here, so
yeah, that's good.
Well,
since you've been back, Greektown's changed a little over the years, huh?
Well, it's incredible. When I was there, there was nothing. I've been there 20 years. Mm-hmm. It was, in fact, there was a huge, empty, barren plot of land that I think.
Is that the new McDonald's headquarters?
No. Actually, miraculously, it's turned into this gorgeous park and playground right next to me. And my window's right overlooking it. So now with my 6.5-year-old daughter, now when she comes with me to town, we just hit that. It's really great.
It's a beautiful park, isn't it?
It is.
So I was on Green and Van Buren when I was mayor-elect.
Oh, right.
But before we got Amy and the kids moved back, and we got back possession of our home.
Right.
It's an unbelievable area.
Yeah.
What's your favorite breakfast place there?
Breakfast would be Goat Diner. My favorite spot every time I come in, my local, I just sit at the counter, have a glass of wine and a meal at Avec.
You can't beat that.
No, it's great.
On the way. So Plantation.
Yeah.
Exclamation point.
Yes. The exclamation is to highlight that it's a comedy. So it's a comedy about race and reparations.
Mm-hmm. That's maybe the only way to start to help us get to the root of it.
Yes, hopefully.
So why'd you pick this play to come back and direct? And what's it? Obviously, you said what it's about, but what drove you to want to do that?
Right. Well, I'm a huge fan of comedy, and I'm really dedicated to some of the projects that I put my time and resources to social issues, and race happens to be one thing that I've been passionate about and interested in exploring and investigating for many years. In fact, we opened our theater space on Michigan Avenue with Studs Terkel's book Race that I co-adapted and directed. So it's something I've always just been really passionate about exploring. And this play the idea of this play is so original, and it was written by one of our ensemble members, Kevin Douglas.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and in fact, he's also an actor, and I think you saw him in Mr. Ricky.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the bellboy in that. So yeah, he's a really gifted playwright, and he came up with this idea about 2.5 years ago, and for the last 1.5 years, we've been working on it, developing it, rewriting it, and it's now finally in a place where we're ready to produce it. But yeah, like you said, I really believe the best way to get people to engage people in the conversation about race is through laughter, and to find the commonalities, I guess, the things we share about race, and if we could kind of expose people and get them laughing first, I think it's a great first step to getting them to think about some of these
things. Yeah. So when was the last time you directed? Because I know you love to, direct, not just act, but to take all aspects, produce, direct, act.
Yeah, the last play I directed was Big Lake, Big City. I think about 3 years ago here. It was a new play by Keith Huff, a great playwright and TV writer. That was also an original play, kind of a comedy actually, and a whodunit. It was a great Chicago cop mystery, a detective story, but it was quite broad comedy as well.
Do you, when you're acting, do you miss can you drop being the director? Is that
That's a great question.
It's kind of like, as a mayor, can you drop being the chief of staff?
Right? Can you?
That same take,
That's a great question.
Yeah, can you? I'll do the questions around here, dude. Yeah. No, it's hard. It's actually hard. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need the Talmudic part of the interview. No answers with questions. Okay.
Well, I think it is. I think it's more of a challenge for me when I'm on stage, especially actually more so in a play than in film or TV. there's something about rehearsal process and being on stage as an actor where it's very difficult for me to take off my directing hat because I'm always so aware of how whatever I'm doing on stage, at least, is going to be experienced or seen by the audience, how it's going to be received by the audience. In film or TV, it's a lot easier to kind of surrender yourself because you really don't know what the camera is going to capture, and you don't know how it's going to be edited, and you know there's so many other factors that are out of your control anyway that you just kind of let it, give up and just serve the director as much as you can, I think.
What pulls you back? I mean, you grew up in L.A.
Yep.
What pulls you, and you went to school at Northwestern. So Chicago must have some, not just nostalgic, but it must have some artistic, creative pull on you that you keep returning in a way that you basically feel like Chicago's home. Is that words in your mouth? I mean,
well, I don't need to be here, Mayor. You can just do.
Right. No, we take every homeowner seriously here. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, listen. This it's really about this group of people, this group of artists, and now we have a great staff support system. But it's, I've been working with these people for now 35 years. It's our 30th anniversry coming up this year at Lookingglass, and plus the 4 years at Northwestern, 34 years. Excuse me. It's. There's nowhere I'd rather work and create, and part of it is because there's really no ego in the company or in the room. Everyone's kind of in it for the right reasons, and the work is most important, comes first. So,
where does the name Lookingglass come from?
It comes from Alice in Wonderland. I mean,
that's why. The first, right? Okay.
Yeah, the first and through the Lookingglass. So the first. Right. The first bonding experience as a company really came from this adaptation of Alice in Wonderland that Andre Gregory and the Manhattan Project did in the 70s. We took that adaptation, and I directed 6 actors in this adaptation, which is more like an adult version, I'd say, of the play. And that experience we then took to the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland when we were juniors in college. And
is that where you made your bar mitzvah money? Or is
that's where I took my bar mitzvah money and produced that play, exactly. And
your Aunt Sylvia said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I didn't give you this money for this."
Yeah, my grandma Sid, very similar. And then this other founding member, David Catlin, and I, while at Northwestern, I think you had just left. I mean, you got your master's in '85.
Correct.
Right. So
I do the research around here. Yes, I did. Yeah, I left.
So I was still there. We probably crossed paths because I was a sophomore in '85. So this other guy, David Catlin, he and I were taking. I hope
none of the listeners do the math from there on. Okay. Go ahead.
Catlin and I were directing each other in plays while at Northwestern, and then we thought, well, this is great. Let's keep doing this professionally. And then 8 of us started the company, and I've had a lot of time to think about this, and actually just came across a letter that I had written to the company in 1995, a year after Friends, went on the air, and just about the struggle to maintain my connection here and my love of the company, and now with a little income, I could finally help the company, and it was always that spirit, like whoever started to make a little dough would put it back into the company, and there was always this feeling that of acceptance that, sometimes one member would feel like, I need a break from the company. I need to go get my master's for 3 years. And everyone was like, go, do your thing. The door's always open. Come back when you're ready. And it's a really unique atmosphere at Lookingglass. And I think a lot of it has to do with the spirit of Chicago being such a, the city of big shoulders, just and a city that works. And we've always it's funny, we've never really considered ourselves artists as much as like working class. We're just the thing we happen to be going to work in a factory and making happens to be something artistic. But we've always had this kind of feeling or this ethos of like, it's about the work, and there's no special treatment. We don't expect anything special.
I always say one thing.
It's grounded me. It's kept me, I feel, grounded.
Chicago has a unique sense of being a community, whether it's culinary community, theater, dance, tech community. There's a sense of a community that does not exist and I don't mean taking a shot, but at New York and LA in the same spaces. There's just not that sense of, while there's competition, there's also a sense of camaraderie and a community.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I think this theater community in Chicago really supports itself and each other. I mean, I've never seen such support.
When you're here, do you try to catch stuff at other
Absolutely, yeah. Last time I was in town, I saw the new Tracy Letts play, The Minutes, and I try to see as much as I can.
Did you like it?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Since your topic at Plantation is race.
Yeah.
There's a great play at the theater, The Den, called The Light.
I've heard it.
It is really. Amy and I went 2 weeks. I know your time is limited because you got to get the play.
I plan
2
on
weeks.
seeing. That's on my list.
It's really worth seeing. It deals, and it's very Chicago. On the other hand, it deals with universal gender, race, sex, sexism. It's very powerful. When you bring your daughter with you to Chicago, what do you try to make sure she? Sees?
Well, she was just here like a week and a half ago, and went to the Shed Aquarium. Loves it. We also hit, because it's in my hood, and she's so passionate about climbing. The Brooklyn Boulders, this incredible indoor climbing wall. If you haven't been there, it's phenomenal. So we always go there. She loves Goat Diner.
Oh, okay.
So she's a foodie, a sweet, anything with pancakes on the menu.
Pancakes with chocolate on it.
Oh man. So, and of course the theater, she really loves the process of behind the scenes and the set design and costume, and like she's really interested in learning and the process of what it takes to actually build a production.
Okay. Do you ever find yourself doing the exactly things that you said you would never do as a father, that your parents did to you, that you are now replicating?
I would like to think it's the good thing. Like there's nothing that comes to mind, honestly, that I'm like, oh my gosh, can't believe I'm doing the same thing, except when it comes to discipline. Like I think I've inherited, whether I like it or not, my father's sense of discipline and justice. Like he's a very just person. He's the kind of dad who he really hated to punish me, and I deserved it. I mean, I drove them crazy. This is the thing my daughter's inherited, is she negotiates. She is a fantastic
so
negotiator.
She's in the shook. I'll take 2 camels and trade it.
Yeah. I'll say, sweet Cleo, you gotta finish your Dad. I'll take 1 more bite, and I'm like, no, 10 more bites. 3. Okay, Dad, I'll do 2 more bites. And she always gets me. I'm like, how is she only taking 3 more bites? Anyway.
That's great.
She's good. She's smart.
Have you seen being a parent change you?
Oh, profoundly. Yeah. I mean, I've never known I could, everyone says it's just that you could love someone as much as that. And it's also brought so much joy. I think there was a time that I went through, I became a father very late. Right. I'm 51 now. My daughter's 6.5. And I think I had started to become I had grown quite cynical. And there was a great deal, I think, of just a hardening that was happening over years of being in the industry and years of social injustice that I see and frustration and the world and politics, etc. And then having a daughter, it just kind of it just brought a lot more joy back into my life, and a lot more kind of a belief in people and in
I have
possibility.
I have 2 daughters, and I do. One is 18 and one is 17. And you end up, the most important relationship, I really do believe this, that a daughter has is with the father. So your parents were very politically involved.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? And how do you think of politics influencing your work as an artist, doing kind of social commentary and work?
Yeah.
And are all your siblings politically?
I have 1 sibling, my sister, and she also, we're very close. Look, we were raised in a very progressive household. My mom was one of the first, one of the founders of NOW and the League of Women Lawyers. I mean, she was an activist from day one, and she was the first person in her family to go to college. her dad was a taxi driver in Queens. I was born in Queens, so my parents are from New York.
Because I'm blaming you now for Trump.
Okay, great, thanks.
Your neighbor and the neighbor next door.
Oh,
they could have stayed and done something, man.
Yeah.
That would have saved us all.
Yeah, it's my parents' fault.
Yeah.
So anyway, she is a remarkable person, her story, and she just didn't put up with anything. She was one of only four women graduating from Brooklyn Law. Met my dad there. They moved out to California as young lawyers with job offers. But the first theater I ever saw was my mom in feminist theater. My sister and I were on picket lines, from the early, as early as I can remember. And they put us in schools. They found schools that were not convenient to where we lived, but intentionally found progressive schools that were integrated, and she had friends that were lesbian and gay, and it was just, we were raised in an atmosphere where we were very aware of gender and politics and race and social justice and feminism, equal rights. So that's just how we grew up, and even intentionally making sure that, my sister's room wasn't pink and mine was blue. They were just really aware, even in choice of dolls and things we played with. And this was a long time ago, I'm 51, right? So that I just grew up with that kind of sense of, again, injustice. And when I realized at some point that I could use whatever talent I had, and then later whatever celebrity I might have, to shed more light, to illuminate certain things that I cared about, and use my resources, and to direct a play, spend time and energy and money and talent to help shed light on certain issues that I care about. I thought, well, this is great. I can do what I love and also make a difference. And
so let me ask you, so the entertainment world writ large, but acting profession, given the Me Too moment, how does this traverse, you think, and what role does an actress have in kind of having the right kind of politics inside, whether it's a theater, a TV series, or making of a film? And where do you think this plays out? How do you think this plays out, and what do you think?
Well, this is a whole other aspect of my life, which is my involvement with an organization called the Rape Foundation. Right. So I'm on the board of directors the last 15 years, and I've been an advocate of child and adult victim of sexual assault for the last 20 years. So a year ago, a friend of mine came to me who she had written and directed some short films in Israel about sexual harassment, and she said, "Oh, what do you think of these? Do you want to help me make them in the States?" And I watched them, and it was a no-brainer. This was last January. So we worked together, and in 7 weeks, we produced these 6 short films about sexual harassment, one of which I appear in. And we released them in April, and they're really strong. I got a lot of fantastic talent from the TV and film industry.
And she came to you when?
She came to me last January, and then we released them in April. So the Weinstein stuff
so about
didn't
a year.
hit,
Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying to do the math. Yeah.
But because of what was happening in January of last year, if I could remind everyone listening, this was right after the election, and for me, electing someone who was boasting of committing sexual assault was incomprehensible and indefensible. When I'm thinking, I'm now a father of a daughter, how am I going to explain this to my daughter? And I thought, when this kind of fell into my lap, with my friends saying, "Do you want to help me produce these?" And in the States, it was like I didn't even have to think about it. This is one thing I can do, using, again, whatever talent and celebrity I had to bring more attention to sexual harassment. So we did these. We released them, 4 months too soon, basically. So in October, when everything was, heating up, and this reckoning was happening, I said, well, we have to release these again. So I partnered with the Ad Council, RAIN, the NWLC, and I reached out personally to the heads of every network and streaming service possible. And about 8 of them came on board. Amazon, Hulu, Starz, FX, Fox,
So
ABC, Freeform, CBS,
all the
Showtime.
distribution.
So we distributed and just launched all the films January 26th. So now they're online. You can get them on any of those, at any of those
Platform.
distributors, those platforms. And New York City now, they're in every cab in New York City. I cut them down to 30-second spots, and now they're running throughout the whole year.
Here. Okay.
They're running throughout the whole year, these PSAs in every New York City taxi. So there are 100,000 impressions a day. And the end of every spot, there's the hotline, the RAIN's hotline for victims. And there's an incredible resource that the National Women's Law Center put together. And if anyone's listening, go to nwlc.org/that's harassment. And there's an incredible toolkit now that every employer and every company can download. And it's simply 10 steps you can take to help prevent sexual harassment in the workplace. And it's incredible, this incredible toolkit. So our goal was really to a call to action to for victims with the hotline and to for employers and to companies. So that's just another way in which...
you guys now, my understanding is you're going to take this also, and you're going to now deal with the issue of immigration, kind of awareness.
Yeah, so the hope now, we're talking to the city, City of New York, about a new series of films. There are 2 ideas we have that we're pursuing. One is about New York as a sanctuary city, and I know, we can talk about that too.
We call it welcoming city.
Right.
No, I actually do. I think it's welcoming is exactly what we're doing. We're welcoming people who want to start anew to either our city or the United States, and we are protecting them. On the other hand, we're welcoming them to be part of the American family.
It's exactly right.
I'm using my Northwestern degree in speech and communication. That words are key.
So yes, we're talking about a series based on New York or Chicago being a welcoming city, and another one geared towards. We're not sure if it's going to also include sexual assault, but harassment at the very least at a much younger level, at elementary and junior high level.
Now, let me see. Do your going back, because your parents obviously influenced you to be socially aware and then use your skills, will they come to opening night?
Oh yeah, they haven't missed. They've never missed a play, ever. I mean, they're incredible. I mean, when I was waiting tables in L.A.
Is that your hardest critic, Mom and Dad?
My mom, without question, is my toughest critic. I have so many stories. But
will you, after the play and everybody and the applause and will you avoid Mom or go up to Mom? Tell the truth. Will you wait to hear from other people? Be honest. I want to know exactly.
I will embrace my parents and hug them and thank them for coming and brace myself for the first thing out of my mom's mouth.
Okay, are you going to sit next to her, or is she going to be a couple seats?
No, I will not sit next to my parents.
You are definitely a Jewish boy.
I made
listen, need 5 chairs of separation.
Oh my gosh,
from Mom.
I made the mistake of sitting next to my mom at a premiere of this big movie.
We need another 2 hours about this.
I'm at a premiere, a big Hollywood premiere of a movie I was in called Apt Pupil, directed by Bryan Singer, Ian McKellen. And I had this small but good supporting role in it, where I was a school teacher, high school teacher, glasses and a mustache, and a very different character. And it was a drama. It was a dramatic thriller. Sit next to my mom, big Hollywood premiere, lights up at the end, everyone's applause and everything. My mom turns to me and says, "Yeah, I don't like the mustache for you." I'm like, nothing about the film, my work. It's just, the mustache, it doesn't work on you. It doesn't work on you. I'm like, it doesn't work on me. Okay.
So let me ask,
wonderful.
Let me ask, I do want to talk about the Plantation ! And I want to make sure people know that it's opening in 2 weeks. How much lead time do you have on a play?
It varies, depending on the the place the play is in, how ready it is for production. This play, we voted in a year and a half ahead of time. And again, Lookingglass is unique. We vote as a democracy on which plays we want to produce.
You guys vote on a play?
Yeah, every time.
Really?
Yeah, it's a true ensemble, a true democracy.
So all of you guys weigh in on the schedule and which plays you're going to do?
Absolutely. And that's unlike any other company that we know of. But and it takes longer. That process is a lot harder and longer.
So everybody reads all the scripts and then thinks through.
And we attend readings of the plays, and we hear every director. We interview every director proposing, and we come together every year at what we call an artistic retreat. Lasts anywhere from 3 to 5 days, and we just hash it out.
And then the next 18 months or next 12 months, the season basically.
That's right.
Huh. Do you like the space over for Lookingglass over the
Oh, it's amazing. It's kind of like this little jewel. It's a box that you could completely flexible, so we can configure it in any way. The first play I directed there was in the round, almost like a town hall meeting. This one is a traditional farce, so it will be proscenium. It'll be stadium seating with a proscenium, not an actual proscenium arch, but the relationship to the audience to the stage will be as if it's a classic farce like Moliere. So.
Did you ever see? I think it's Metamorphosis.
Sure.
I loved that.
Oh yeah, it was great.
I thought that was
great production. Yeah, Mary Zimmerman. Yeah. We first produced that like 25 years ago, and then we remounted it, and then it went to New York right when the Twin Towers fell, and it became somewhat of a quote unquote hit at the time because it was such a time that the city needed some kind of a space to come together and heal, and that play in particular offered that, I think.
So you're a father.
Yeah.
7-year-old. Did I have that right?
6.5, almost 7.
Okay. Yeah. You're obviously raised very socially and politically aware. Did you ever think that this would be the moment in time that you would grow up, that we would have an administration like this or a politics like this in America?
No. I mean,
Not the issue of whether we're dealing to immigration or sexual assault or making sure there's equity across gender lines. But did you ever think, and when your parents moved, and your mother and father obviously may have left the Queens, but their sense of roots, did you ever think that this moment in time would arrive in America?
No, I honestly no. I think the thing that is most fundamentally upsetting to me is the complete lack of character in leadership, and just how much hypocrisy there is. That people seem to be just thinking of themselves and their own agendas, and not really thinking or acting as if they care about the country and the people, the majority of the people that live here. And also the lack of intelligence, just basic kind of intelligence of service, the idea of service. Like I know that you at one point really were championing the idea of 3 months of service for every young person. I mean, I think it would be a dream if that were to be the case. It seems like we're being led by people who don't really understand what serving is, and the idea of...
I think we got to rebond the threads of being an American. They've frayed two ways, and I think national service is the only way you can put a Schwimmer and Emanuel child next to. No, I really do. I think that's very, very... I think people have lost their sense of commitment to the country, and we've gone into a balkanization. We've all gone into our separate spaces.
I agree, and I think part of the crisis I think that we're in, I really do think we're in a crisis, has something to do with the coincidence that it's also happening at a time when technology is reinforcing the idea for younger and younger people that you're the most important thing that in the world. So that we are breeding a culture of narcissists, and where everything you do and everything you eat has to be documented and shared. And I think we're heading towards a real
reckoning.
A real reckoning.
So my daughter's a senior in high school, and she's reading a book, which I've then gone back and read, because I think it's a perfect book for this moment. It's Philip Roth's The Plot Against America. And I keep coming back, how did this guy see around the corner? Philip Roth, because that is like an incredible book for this moment that he, years ago, saw coming. I don't know if you...
I've not read it. I'm going to have to.
I apologize. I've been giving you now a play assignment to go see, and I've now given you a book assignment. This is the last time you're ever going to talk to me again.
I have a lot to do today.
Your homework. I want actually a 6-page paper on, no. But Plot Against America by Philip Roth is actually, and years ago he wrote it, its capacity to literally look around the corner and see this moment in time coming to America. It's in it. So she's reading it, or read it.
She's reading it now.
In high school.
Oh, right.
She's reading it. So I went back to read it while she was reading it. Because
that's a good dad.
Work on it, man. It's the greatest joy of your life.
Yeah.
So we go to a fast round here.
Okay.
Before I want to do one thing. I want everybody to know how committed David is to Chicago, not just for the play, coming back to Lookingglass, not just having a space that he's still in Greektown, that when we were passing the elimination of the amusement tax on all venues, 1,500 or less, that you were out communicating, tweeting, and talking about it, and the support it gave not only there, but also the resources we could do for art education and kids. So I never really I did publicly, but I never also, I want to say again, thank you for
It was my pleasure.
supporting our kids' arts education and there. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Speed round?
Here it is. Thick or thin pizza?
Thin.
Cubs or Sox?
Cubs.
Lake or river?
God. River.
Okay, you want to take that again? But that's fine. That's fine. River. Okay.
River.
Hancock, or as you would know it, Sears Tower.
I have to say Hancock. That's where our offices are.
Okay. Yeah, otherwise you get kicked out. 16-inch or 12-inch softball?
12-inch.
Okay.
Yeah.
You pass.
Oh, right.
Except
Okay,
for
good.
the thin pizza. I'm not. That has nothing to do with your book assignment, but that you definitely pass on the Chicago roads. Welcome home.
Thank you.
David, thank you so much for being here. Plantation!
Thank you so much.
Exclamation point.
Yeah, Plantation.
We're probably going to go.
Please,
And if we make it opening night, I'll sit with Mom. I'll take her out.
If you sat with my mom,
I
that
would
be
occupy Mom at least for the first 10 minutes so she doesn't walk over. Yeah, I know what that means, man. I got one.
Man, if
I
you
have
would do
one.
that, I would be forever in your
But
debt.
you have to do one thing.
Yeah.
At a speech, you get Marsha Emanuel. Okay.
Okay.
If I'm taking Mom to river, you're taking Marsha Emanuel.
I will charm Marsha like she's never been charmed.
Speech, she'll come right off. I go, what did you think? She'll go, you need to really work on enunciation. Mom, yeah, it's like.
You need to stand up taller.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Stand up straighter.
It is unbelievable. Yeah. So that's why I asked you. I wait 5 or 6 people before I go to Mom.
Oh.
So my recommendation, I'll occupy her, but you go to 5 other people before you come there.
I absolutely will.
Okay? It's called the Jewish Young Man Survival Kit. Ladies and gentlemen, David Schwimmer, Chicago Stories, Plantation at Lookingglass. Go there.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
You're listening to Chicago Stories with Mayor Emanuel. You can subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tweet your guest ideas using #ShyStories. Thanks for listening.